Hey, everybody. I think we're live. I'm not sure. Looks like we're live. Great. Hey, everyone. How are you? Let me see if I can find a way to make this bigger so I can see your comment. Great. Perfect. Um, as some of you might have seen this morning, my son Lucas and I both popped on to see if we can. Hi, Doug. We popped on to see if we could figure out what was going on with why it was delaying. And it looks like hopefully this is working now. So, Doug, I'm sure you'll tell me or I'll see after. So, happy December. This is our last Q&A of the year. I have some emailed questions from you guys. Doug, I think it's just you and me right now, but if you have any questions, let me know and I'll gladly answer them. I know a lot of you can't join us live, but watch the replay. So, as always, guys, feel free to email questions to me through my website, findingyourvoice.com, or to put them in the comments, whatever you guys would like. So, without further ado, I'll go ahead and tackle the questions I've got here that were emailed. First, let me also say someone this morning reminded me of this wonderful uh, column of sorts in the New York Times called Diary of a Song. The New York Times is doing this wonderful collection of pieces, video pieces, on singers and songwriters and their process. So they've done everyone from Prince, of course, in retrospect, Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, Grimes, all kinds of different singers and artists. And it's been amazing. I watched the Taylor Swift film this morning, and it was great. Just her and her producer and engineer talking about the process and how a certain song, one of her latest called Lover, came into being. And it was great. It was like getting an inside peek into her process and into the recording process and just the magical capturing of a song in its from its creation, inception to creation. So it was really, really, really cool. So if you can check it out, the New York Times Diary of a Song. And thank you, Kelly, for emailing me that reminder. So, yeah, I'll dive right into questions. And again, as some of you pop on, go ahead and let me know if you have any questions here in the chat. I'll do my best to talk and read at the same time. The first few questions I got are from Marilyn, and I'll just read them straight off and go ahead and answer them, my thoughts on them. Marilyn wants to know, are CDs of importance today? And what, if so, what kind of studio is the best to make one? Usual pricing, etc. And do CDs make sense now that we are in the age of Spotify? So, of course, as always, guys, these are just my opinions, personal and also professional. Um, Marilyn and everyone, I've seen it done different ways. I mean, I think that we live in an age of single song releases. You know, people put their stuff on Spotify, to your point, iTunes, et cetera. And so I think that people are thinking less conceptually as an album, in an album format. Um, and I think that it's therefore important to think that way when you think of each song as a capturing of a magical moment that you're going to release in isolation, meaning that not everybody that hears your song is going to hear the context of an album from which it may or may not have sprung. So I think you almost have to listen with a dualistic mind these days if you are making an album, and many people do. Doug is on here and has made a beautiful album recently. And I think labels still want an album so that they have material in the bag to draw from as singles. You need to listen through both lenses. The one being, is this song in isolation fantastic, and can it stand on its own? And does it represent my artistic, both my artistic vision and the vision that I have for myself as an artist? Once upon a time, you could make an album and have two or three songs be real departures from your artistic self because you knew it would be listened to holistically. That isn't guaranteed anymore. But I think ultimately, my answer, my opinion is that you really need to do what serves you. So often we can go chasing the latest trends of what's popular to do and what we should or shouldn't do. But as we know, those of us who've been on the planet for longer than a couple of years in the music business, that changes very, very quickly. So I think you have to follow your instinct. I have one singer I'm working with who has chosen to release a record of 10 songs that are each a minute. And I have someone else who's decided that she only wants to release EPs of 4 to 5 songs at a time because she always felt previously that this sort of 9 and 10 song album thing, after she got 4 or 5 songs in, she often felt like, well, now I'm just kind of making up or picking songs to fill these arbitrary slots that I don't know that I necessarily find valuable for my personal artistic vision. So that's my answer to that. She also asked, oh, best studio and usual pricing. That's a tough one. Depends on where you are, the quality. So much these days. Now that we're in COVID, I mean that's a whole other ball of wax. But I think that briefly, because I know we have some other questions we want to get to. I'm a big believer in ask around relationships, find out recommendations in your area, and then listen to what they've done. Sometimes you can work with producers and engineers who have the greatest reputation and have won all kinds of awards, but maybe don't know how to capture a piano as well as you'd like, or your type of vocal in a way that is what you want. So listen to what they do. I think it's always a good idea before you get locked into some long-term arrangement to say, can we record one song together? Can we see how it goes? I think that's always a good thing. Pricing is so tricky. I mean, you could get anything from $100 piano vocal to a $10,000 song. It totally depends. So I can't really help there. But I think you can find options in every price range. And I think, again, doing your due diligence of reaching out to your network, your local network, to find out who's great, who's talented, and who's a great person. I think both of those things are important. Who's easy to work with, who can deliver a sound that you want. Get 4 or 5 names, listen to what he or she has worked on, and then make a choice. Start with one song and see how you feel. So those are my thoughts on that first question. Another question is, okay, not singing related, but similarly in terms of recording promotion. How do I promote the songs my partner has written? You've mentioned before about others not being able to sing a song unperformed on a CD. Thoughts? Yes. Okay. So what she's speaking to here in one of our master classes recently, we were talking about publishing. And let me say, as I often do, I'll say it ad nauseum, there's a fantastic book, everyone, by Dan Passman called All You Need to Know About the Music Business. And if you haven't read it, consider picking it up. I think the latest edition is the 10th edition. He releases a new one every couple years or so. As the music business changes, as digital technology changes, it needs to be updated. So that's a fantastic resource. But briefly, what she's wondering about is if you've written a song, in this case, her partner is a songwriter, how can you basically protect the copyright and the performing of it? How can you decide who will or will not sing that song? And in a nutshell, if I've written a song and have never commercially released it, I have the right to be the first person to do so. So, for example, if I have written a song, and this happens quite frequently with well-known songwriters, they may have written a song, and through the grapevine, artists will hear it and say, "I'd really love to sing that song," and the artist might say, "I'm saving that for someone else, or even for myself, for my own artist project." And the songwriter or songwriters have that right until the song is commercially released by the songwriter, him or herself, or by another artist. Once that happens, oh, hi, Marilyn. I'm actually answering one of your questions right now. Um, Once a song has been commercially released, then anyone can record the song and release it, so long as they pay royalties to publishing royalties. But you have creative control until the song is released commercially for the first time. So, Marilyn, I just answered actually a couple of your questions, and you can see them on the replay if you missed them. Welcome. Um, Next, a couple questions are singing related. Um, the first one is, and guys here in your chat, please feel free to ask some other questions too. Sometimes I think I hold the breath when I'm singing, hold my breath when I'm singing. Of course, some breath has to come out, but I think I'm not releasing enough. Should I be singing with more breath, especially on higher notes? Okay, so as always, these questions are more easily answered in person. Um, it's tricky to get into the nitty gritty of the specifics for each person like this, but I'll share some tips that I hope answer your question in a way that helps you move forward. So, um, actually, I'll show you rather than tell you. If you were to put your hand in front of your mouth like this and say, good morning, for example, and then say it very loudly, good morning. See if you feel more breath. And the long and short of it is that we really don't feel as much of a difference as we think we might. Most people have the idea that volume and pitch are directly correlated to the amount of breath coming out, and that is not the case. The instrument, the vocal instrument, when it's supported well, certainly air is coming out and moving through the vocal folds, resonating and leaving the body. But it's really the amount of pressure and the type of pressurization in the body that dictates volume and high notes, low notes, much more than a direct correlation between air and volume or air and pitch. So to answer the question specifically, you definitely don't ever want to have the experience of holding your breath. That's a slightly different topic. Many of us try to hold or conserve the breath, especially when we know we have a long vocal line ahead of us. But in fact, doing so tends to cause us to run out of breath more quickly, because the process of trying to reserve the breath for singing takes more breath than just singing naturally and letting the body work to support it healthily and holistically. So I think what I would focus on if I were you and concerned about breath is, and in the art of singing, there is the digital copy, or the CD has some great exercises on support. I wouldn't think of so much about breath when I'm singing. I would think more about, am I healthily engaged? I would concentrate on the words that I'm saying to have that connection between diction and support. And then I would observe and allow the breath and just notice when it's working and your voice feels free and sounds terrific. What's the process there of breath? How is the breath leaving your body? And then alternately, when you feel like you're holding your breath, just take note of what that feels like in the body. As those of you who've worked with me often know, so much of this is about awareness rather than direct manipulation. So taking stock of what is and isn't working is a really important starting point. And then build from there. So I hope that helps and answers that question. And then the last one, guys, I have here is vowels. Do they become more specific in singing than they are in conversation? I think in a earlier Q&A we talked about this a little bit. Vowels are tricky because many different singers and teachers have different opinions on the right way to approach vowel formation, how to treat it directly, indirectly, conceptually. Again, as always, I'll offer you my view. First and foremost, let me say that we sing on the vowels. I mean, we sing and we speak on the vowels. If you say a word, for example, I don't know, I'm looking out the window, kite. You know, if you were to drag that out and say the word kite, you know, the voice comes out on the vowel, kite, and it stops on the hard consonants. We can still phonate on, you know, M, N, L, and things like that. But the most open singing occurs on our five vowels. So I don't know that they necessarily are more specific than in conversation, but I think we need to give them a little more attention to make sure that while we want to occur as conversational in our artistic delivery, we want to use the vowels to our advantage to make sure that we're really singing on them rather than on the consonants. So, depending on your genre, classical singers, this is imperative. I mean, especially when they're in higher parts of their range, they really need to almost modify and diminish some of their consonants so that the voice can continue to spin and ring on those notes. Same thing with some legit theater. In more commercial and jazz, you can be much more conversational and even use that as an artistic tool, creatively communicative tool. So that's a bit genre specific, but I think another word about vowels, so that's the attention you want to give to them. But I will say, my personal view on vowels, I know a lot of singing teachers and coaches and singers spend a lot of time thinking about the formation of vowels, the tongue placement, you know, the back being down, the front of the tongue, the space in the mouth. I personally believe that you want your vocal engagement to be healthy and independent of your vowel formation. So, for example, I think that you want to be able to engage the voice on, let's just say, ah, if you are on an ah. You want the voice to be engaged on a note, and then you want to be able to move through the vowels in the same breath with little incident. I'm even talking to you on the note right now. My voice is engaged and nothing I do here really modifies that. So when your voice is engaged correctly, I think, all of this is sort of icing on the cake. If you find that once your voice is engaged, you have a very hard time going from, for example, E to ah. E tends to be more forward, ah tends to go into the back. If you find that you're having trouble with the ah, moving from the E to the ah, that's less, I think, about a problem with the vowel ah itself and more a problem with how you are deliberately forming it. In our speaking, very few people have a problem saying, good morning, oh, I would like to go to the store today. You know, we don't have a problem with that. We've learned how to allow our vowels to be formed and shaped in a way that doesn't interfere with the consistency of our speaking voice. And I think it can and should be the same with our singing. So as with everything, you know, there's nuance, there's subtlety. I'm a big believer, as many of you know, in really observing and allowing the voice and making nuanced modifications through intention rather than direct manipulation. And I think with vowels, that's certainly one. But moving from, for example, there's no specific song or genre mentioned here, but if you were to, you know, say the line somewhere, I don't know, I'm always thinking of the song with you guys, but if you were to move, say the line somewhere over the rainbow, no problem saying that. You were to put your attention on the vowels and maybe even allowing them to elongate somewhere over the rainbow. You could see where the opportunities are if you want a little more ring and ping. And then if you move into singing them, singing the line, and you find yourself falling back or tightening up, somewhere over the rainbow. There's no tension there, but if I were hypothetically to go somewhere or falling back, maybe modify the vowel, play with it, see if you can speak it. Somewhere over the rainbow. find the natural shape of the vowel and allow that to take priority in the way that you sing it. Um, from there, you can make modifications, allowing a little more space in the back, allowing an E or an E to allow it forward a bit more. But direct manipulation of the tongue, the jaw, the palate, the space in the mouth, the shape of the mouth, in my view, tends to cause more problems than those manipulations solve. So I would always start with listening and moving from how we naturally speak. So I hope that answers those questions. Can you see my comment? I can. Hi, Marilyn. I can see your comment. That's all I've got here, guys, unless you all have some other questions. We are all set up. I'm going to post later today or later this week the dates for our next monthly Q&As. Usually we do this monthly. I may shift to quarterly so as not to bombard your video screen with too much of me all the time, but I'll keep you posted. We have master classes coming up. All my events you can find on findingyourvoice.com. You can find me here on Facebook if you have questions, if you guys ever need anything. And I wish you all such a wonderful holiday and Happy New Year if I don't see you before. We do have a master class in December. The 20th is our last one, I believe. And we have, I think the singing spots are all taken, but we have some observation spots left if you want to join. Let's see, Doug has made a comment. I'm beginning to realize that performance and anxiety, fear, go hand in hand, that you need to accept it and know it will be present. Do you have any tricks to relaxing all of the musculature that tends to get all tangled up? Thanks, Jen. Yes, I do think, Doug, that there are very few people that I know who ever fully, if at all, overcome performance anxiety. As I think we've talked about in master classes, I think a two-pronged approach is really imperative. The first one being to accept it. It's present. It's part of the human condition. It's part of the fight or flight response. We can always, as I think we've also talked about, do the human work of being more vulnerable, being more present, looking at our singing as an act of service and contribution rather than an exercise in looking good, and that helps to mitigate some performance anxiety. But in terms of dealing with the relaxing the musculature that kind of clamps up in singing, first, doing the work of accepting that it's going to be there. Acceptance is amazing. When you consciously accept performance anxiety isn't going anywhere and you really, really accept it, it does relax the body a bit. The other thing I'd say, honestly, is to perform all of the time. I know these sound like kind of simple answers, but they're the two I have found work the most. Imagine, if you will, in the moment you think, okay, what's a trick or a tip? What's something I can do to relax my breathing now in this moment when I'm nervous? I'm not sure that any that I've found really work. I think doing some deeper breathing leading up to the performance can help. By relaxing and slowing the breath and deepening the breath, we send the signal to our brain that we're not panicked, and that can help to sort of start the cycle of physical feeling to cognitive belief, physical feeling to cognitive belief in that cycle. Getting a great workout the day of a performance can help to get our blood flowing and get the lymphatic system cleared and everything moving, and can help lower our resting heart rate. Doing that not just the day of the performance, but ongoingly, that can help. But I really think the biggest work is normalizing the process of performing. To perform all the time in COVID days, getting on Zoom, getting on a Facebook Live or Instagram Live, and performing as often as humanly possible. You can delete them after if you don't like them. If you were to hypothetically do this once a week, Doug and everyone else, to get up and sing a song or two, you'll have the experience of moving through that anxiety and feeling it over the weeks and months begin to dissipate as your conscious self goes, oh, this isn't such a special or unique thing anymore. This is just something we're doing, it looks like brushing our teeth, washing our face, flossing, performing, and the anxiety starts to subside, as do the gripped up musculature that tends to join along too often. So I hope that answers your question, Doug. Um, Love to you all. Happy holidays to you too, Marilyn. I'm here, whatever you guys need. Don't hesitate to reach out. And I will see you back here in 2021. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful holiday. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye.